everybody's ignoring that you have these giant sleeping titans, XRP and Bitcoin, for example. Ethereum's biggest issue is the way they structure their ecosystem. They're being eaten alive by parasitic layer twos. But Cardano, the way it was built, is really an organic extension of what Bitcoin started.
U ovom videu Čarls Hoskinson, osnivač Cardana, govori o različitim prednostima i manama Bitcoina i poznatih altkoina kao što su Ethereum, Cardano, XRP, Solana i drugi. Pogledaj video do kraja i saznaj nešto novo o nekim od najboljih kriptovaluta današnjice. Subscribe se na naš kanal za još ovakvih edukativnih videa. Prije nego što krenemo sa videom, kratak podsjetnik da Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solanu i mnoge druge tokene i coine možete kupiti i trgovati na Bybit menjačnici. Prijavite se preko našeg linka još danas i ostvarite razne bonuse i pogodnosti na registraciju, depozit i trgovanje. Također, ako ste početnici, na našem kanalu možete pronaći besplatni kurs gdje za manje od 90 minuta možete naučiti sve što treba da znate o kriptovalutama, trgovanju i investiranju.
Could you please share your perspective about the evolution of cryptocurrencies, like from Bitcoin to Ethereum and to the next generation?
See, I tend to look at generations in terms of the problems that they're trying to solve. So the first generation was just about, is it possible to move value around like email for money in a decentralized way? Or do you have to have some third trusted party to maintain the ledger? And that was a known. Nobody knew. You know, we started talking about it in the 80s in the cypherpunk movement. And David Chaum was a revolutionary guy back in the 90s, and he had DigiCash, but nobody had cracked that nut. And then Satoshi comes out of damn nowhere and comes up with this ability to create and transfer that value in a decentralized way. That was amazing. And here's the problem. You have a hedonic amnesia with these types of things. So the minute you solve it, you're like, wow. And then 2 years later is, whatever. So the iPhone was exactly like that. People saw the iPhone, and I remember navigating with MapQuest and printing out the maps and these types of things. And then suddenly you have this phone and you can like use Google Maps, and oh my God, it's amazing. It's so incredible. And then a year later, it's like, what else you got? So Bitcoin was the same. It was, wow, this is incredible. This is amazing. And then everybody's like, well, but wait a minute, I need programmability. You know, it's kind of like when JavaScript came to the web browser. Before JavaScript came, you had websites, but you really couldn't do anything. Just read text and see like the little GIF picture with the flames and these things. It's like, that's your web. Then JavaScript comes, and then suddenly you got Facebook, you got YouTube, you got all these amazing experiences. You got web games, you know, everything is awesome. Okay, well, Ethereum comes in the second generation. This is around 2014. And there, all of a sudden, you have programmability. And then you get DeFi and GameFi and all the FIs. You get NFTs, you get metaverses, you get these things. But people say, hang on a second here. Guys, it's not cost effective. You need predictable pricing. You need scale. You need interoperability, because all these different complex things have to talk to each other. And the most important part is you need governance. So very quickly after building the second generation, everybody started saying it needs to be better, faster, cheaper, talk to everything. And it has to behave like a centralized company, but be decentralized in terms of product. Because when you think about products, you have like the iPhone. Who makes the iPhone? Apple. So you as a consumer have an expectation that every year, some guy in a black turtleneck is going to come out and be like, let me tell you about the iPhone. It's the most amazing thing. And you believe that. And say for Windows and Microsoft, you say, oh, the guy at Microsoft's going to come out and be like, oh, there's Windows 12 and there's Windows 13 and there's Windows 14 and it has all these new things. So who's the guy in the turtleneck for a decentralized protocol? Do you elect them? Do you just not do it like Bitcoin? And so it just stays at the same capability set forever? Or do you have like a governing council or these things? So governance is super hard because like, is there any government right now working that everybody's happy with? If you go to throw a dart, you know, at a world map and it hits a country at random, do you think that the president of that country has 100% popularity? So decentralized governance super hard. So that's the third generation, decentralized governance, interoperability, and scalability. And, you know, that's the big differentiator between Cardano and Ethereum. Cardano has an on-chain governance system. Cardano has a lot of stuff built in for interoperability, especially on the Bitcoin side. And Cardano also has, I'd say, protocols that are far more scalable at the layer 1 than Ethereum has at the moment.
How does Cardano differentiate from its competitors like Solana, like Avalanche, or all the other chains? And what makes it so special in your view?
You know, there's this war of titans right now between Solana and Ethereum. And so Ethereum's biggest issue is the way they structure their ecosystem. They're being eaten alive by parasitic layer 2s. It's absorbing all the transaction volume of the users, and they have no loyalty to the system. So that layer 2 can find a better deal somewhere else. It'll just uproot and go there and take the users and transaction volume with it. So it's like mosquitoes sucking the blood gradually out of you. You know, you get too many of them, you're not going to have a lot of blood left. Solana, their growth model has been really in the second act, because the first act was SBF and FTX and these things, and it really hurt them. They made a master stroke of a recovery, but really the recovery came with meme coins. They have to figure out how to grow beyond that part of the ecosystem and become something in their own right. But it's a good team, and there's very smart people there. So I think they have a good chance for it. But here's the thing. As they fight, everybody's ignoring that you have these giant sleeping titans, XRP and Bitcoin, for example, which when you combine them, the TVL of potential for that, it's about 4 times the market cap of Bitcoin, of Ethereum and Solana combined. So a lot of people are like, well, how do you beat Solana? How do you beat Ethereum? We say, well, okay, have you ever tried to connect an account system to a UTXO system? Have you ever guys tried to connect the Ripple ledger to an account system? Not easy. But Cardano, the way it was built, is really an organic extension of what Bitcoin started. We have extended UTXO to UTXO. We have deflationary monetary policy. The smart contract model would have been what Satoshi would have written had Bitcoin script been more expressive. So we're really thinking holistically and saying over the next 5 to 10 years, the largest growth of users' liquidity in TVL is going to be coming from Bitcoin DeFi and Ripple entering the DeFi world and bringing the institutions with it, because our RWA is a multi-trillion-dollar marketplace. So we're in the nexus point in that, where we actually have the best technology to communicate with those guys, and we're the most decentralized and secure to do so. And you don't have to violate the security model of XRP or Bitcoin to enable that.